So, this is going to be the story of how I went from $300,000 in debt to making $300,000 a month. And I'm basically just going to hop into my computer and kind of show you some of the most significant times and pictures in my life. So, if you see this right here, this is basically an account summary of all of my student loan debt. And I had a significant amount of student loan debt, as you can imagine. And basically, you can see here it's over $310,000, and this was taken back in probably like 2018 or so, somewhere around there. It's right after I graduated from college with my doctorate, and I basically became a pharmacist. And we're gonna kind of go over exactly how that happened. But yeah, I had $300,000 in debt. As a pharmacist, it probably would have taken me at least 10 to 20 years to pay that off just to get back to zero. And then, I'd be able to make more money, but it was going to be like almost 10 years of indentured servitude just to pay that money back. And I also felt like, I didn't really have a choice. I felt like I was forced into the situation of going into that much debt because of the background that I came from and my circumstances. But let's go ahead and kind of start off here. How exactly I got into this predicament, right? And this was a picture of me in high school right here. So I was about probably about 15 to 16 years old, and the picture in the background you can see this truck. This is a truck that I worked very hard to get. I worked an entire summer one time and saved up money. I was doing demolition and construction and landscaping and all that kind of thing. And I worked super hard to save up money so that I could get this truck. And then behind that is the Section 8 apartments that my dad and I were living in at the time. Because before that, my dad and I were actually homeless. He had a really bad accident and had some health problems where, his legs got crushed when he was working on a site and he wasn't able to work after that. And long story short, we ended up homeless, but then we ended up living in like trailer parks and a really terrible basement apartment. And then finally, Section 8 housing, right? If you're not familiar with Section 8 housing, it's basically government housing. And yeah, so that's the Section 8 housing. This is the place that I was living in the back. And around this time, my dad also had what's known as the Widowmaker heart attack. Basically, what you need to know about this is there's about a 4% survival rate, and he actually did survive it. But it was a pretty traumatizing experience for me because, I'm a kid and he's my only family. We were living in Kansas at the time, Lawrence, Kansas specifically. And, without him, it was just like there's no one else that I had there. Right. So this is a picture of me and my dad. He did survive it. He's a real tough guy. He's a Vietnam veteran, and he was able to recover both from his accident where he got his legs crushed and his heart attack. But working was obviously very, very challenging for him, and he had to take this prescription right here, metoprolol succinate, in order to survive. And this is what initially got me interested in pharmacy because I would go and pick up his medications and I was just really interested about these medications. I would ask the pharmacist questions about them, and I really realized that if it wasn't for these medications, my dad would definitely not be able to survive. It was just very black and white. Now, honestly, I'm naturally pretty anti medication. I think that medications are overprescribed in many cases in the modern world. And I've always been a proponent of just like living a healthy lifestyle rather than having to rely on medication. So prevention, even after becoming a pharmacist, I'm still a proponent of that. Actually, especially after becoming a pharmacist. But with that being said, there's some medications that it's just black and white. They keep people alive. It's just there's no really arguing it. And this is one of them. If someone gets to that point where they have terrible heart issues. And so I became very interested in this, actually to the point of obsession. And I remember as a freshman in high school, I barely passed chemistry class. I got a D, and I just didn't care. I thought it was super boring, and I hated chemistry. And because of my obsession with pharmacology and medications, that were keeping my dad alive, chemistry went from my worst subject to my best subject, right? And so I started looking up this career as a pharmacist, and I started seeing like, wow, pharmacists make really good money. They're making, over $100,000 a year. and you get a doctorate, and there's ways of actually completing the degree faster. And so I started getting really, really interested in becoming a pharmacist, and I started studying like crazy. Now, at the time, I had a very low GPA. My GPA was pretty bad, to be honest with you. And so my GPA was pretty low at the time, and I think it was like 2.6, maybe something like that, 2.5, somewhere around there. And so I had to study really, really hard because I only had about a year and a half left of high school before I would be going to college, and I needed to get that GPA up. And so I actually studied incredibly hard, and I got a 4.0 the rest of my way through school, and I was able to make it to college. And this is, from 18 to 24. I went to college, and I went to the University of Kansas first from 18 to 21. That was my undergrad. And, University of Kansas, beautiful campus. If you've never seen it before, especially when the leaves change color, absolutely gorgeous campus. Rock Hawk, Jayhawk. I'm a big basketball fan as well. Rock Chalk, Jayhawk. So, yeah, this is. I also went to Las Vegas for my grad school. So that was Roseman University of Health Sciences. So basically, I did the accelerated version of pharmacy in undergrad. It was only 3 years instead of 4 years. So I didn't actually get a bachelor's degree. So I was going all in. I just did the prerequisites to get into pharmacy school. And then I did the accelerated version of pharmacy school. So it's usually 4 years. I did it in 3 years as well. And so it was pretty crazy. It was also very fast, so it saved me a lot of time, but it was also quite expensive. And in some ways, I kind of regret doing that because of how expensive it is, because I did have to go to a pretty expensive school, which is Roseman. And, I became a pharmacy student. Here's a bunch of pictures of me. Here's a picture of me with a bunch of my classmates. Here's a picture of me graduating with my favorite professor, which is Dr. Lee. And here's a picture of me with my family. And then basically, during this time, I started trying a bunch of different side hustles because I was quite busy with pharmacy school, but I just had this yearning to do more than just have a job, right? I started feeling, I was working as a pharmacy technician, so I was already getting a taste of what the 9 to 5 feels like and what it's really like. And I started having this yearning to do something more than the 9 to 5, like have a something that's my own, something that I'm not relying on other people for. And so I started trying a bunch of different side hustles. And one of them that I tried was recording YouTube videos. And, I just did it a little bit. At first, I was doing like some faceless stuff, just uploading random stuff. And it didn't really work out for me in terms of money, but I did enjoy it. But eventually, I just got busy and I stopped doing it. Around the same time, I basically moved into this entrepreneur house in Las Vegas, where it was a bunch of entrepreneurs living there. There's about 7 guys living there, and we were all just renting different rooms. And I guess the idea of it was we could kind of bounce ideas off of each other and possibly even start businesses together. And one of them invited me to see his friend who was quite rich, and you can see he had like a very nice car here. I think this is a Lamborghini, and I got to go to his really nice house and go into his really nice car, and that was nice because I hadn't really been exposed to having nice things yet, and so that was kind of one of my first times doing that. And I remember actually at the end of the night, the guy told me he was holding a camera, and he's like, "This camera, if I had one piece of advice for you, this camera will make you rich." He held this camera and he's like, "This will make you rich." That was his advice. And I was like, wow, okay. So I took that to heart. And then I got my first job. And this was just outside of Seattle, Washington. It was in the Seattle, Washington area. I was kind of floating around to like Bellingham, Seattle, etc., different areas around there. And it was a great job, and I was making good money. And I'm not gonna lie, when I started getting those $10,000 paychecks every month, I was pretty freaking happy. I was like, wow, this is nice. This is better than being poor. So basically, I went from poor to middle class, right? Maybe even upper middle class. But the truth is, the 9 to 5 isn't all it's cracked up to be. It was incredibly boring. It was tedious. It was monotonous. Kind of doing the same thing over and over again. And, I was kind of just stuck in this little cubicle all the time, basically, like this little cube, which was my pharmacy. And I was stuck looking out at the beautiful view. Washington is an absolutely beautiful state, especially if you like being outdoors and hiking. Definitely recommend visiting Washington if you haven't. Has some of the best hiking in the world. And yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous state. And, I would just stare outside wishing that I could leave because as a pharmacist, you actually literally cannot leave the premises. You have to be inside of the store, inside your pharmacy at all times. So you can't even step outside, not even a foot. So you can't even get a breath of fresh air technically as a pharmacist. And so I was just stuck inside for 12-hour shifts, sometimes more than that. And then the pandemic happened and I went from, this relatively healthy looking, pretty happy to this. I was just like, "Oh my gosh." I was having issues, right? Because we instead of 12-hour shifts, we were doing like 15-hour shifts, and it was very stressful. People were quitting. Some of them because they were concerned about their health, and some of them just because they wanted to collect on the unemployment benefits. Why work when you can get paid to not work? And so they were quitting left and right. And so I was having to do the work of like, 3 to 5 people at once. And I was working longer shifts and it was just crazy stressful, right? And at the same time, of course, because everyone was wearing masks and stuff, our store got robbed 3 times in a 6-month period because you can't identify anybody. And, there was one time where the air conditioner broke and it was super hot. And yeah, it was just, it was a mess. And let me just remind you guys, COVID happened at this time, and I'm $310,000 in debt. And so I'm imagining myself having to do this for the next 40 years. And honestly, even the next 10 to 15, maybe even 20 years just to pay off this debt. That's what I'm imagining. And I am not happy with that prospect, let's just say the least. I am not happy with that at all. I mean, I can't even imagine having to put myself through that even for 5 years, right? 5 years, 10 years would be terrible, but 40 years, there's just no way. And this is when I stumbled across some of these make money online gurus like Kevin David. And I remember I bought a Kevin David course. Okay, I bought $1,000 Kevin David course, and I bought some other people's courses as well. And listen, I'm not the type of person to talk bad about other people, but the course wasn't good. Okay, it wasn't good. It was very clearly copied from other things. It was using old methods and techniques that worked maybe 5 years ago, but they don't work now. This guy is basically like a professional copycat. Okay, so he just I think he just bought somebody else's course and then he just did it module for module or something like that. But it wasn't very good. Okay, it wasn't very good. And I started buying some other courses. Like I bought Ty Lopez's social media marketing course. I think the one I bought from Kevin David was an Amazon FBA course. Tried the Amazon FBA. I bought Ty Lopez's social media marketing course. So I really bought like all the big name courses, right? This guy is like obviously very well known. He's like here in my garage, right? So I started doing all kinds of side hustles. I, tried to do Amazon FBA. This was a product I did, which is the Booty Blaster, which is basically a product where you put it around your waist and you kind of kick back while you're on the ground, and apparently it works your butt out. Yeah, so I tried on Amazon FBA, and I really did give it a good try, but it just didn't work out for me. Nothing was working, and this isn't the only one. I tried a bunch of different things at the time. I tried, social media marketing. I tried Amazon FBA. I tried, doing paid ads. I tried all kinds of different things, and then I stumbled on this guy right here. Because it's not these other guys, their stuff didn't work for me, right? And again, I don't want to say too many bad things. This is not my personality, but I stumbled upon this guy right here. His name is Sam Ovens. Now, at the time, Sam Ovens had this product called the Consulting Accelerator. And I had kind of gone through the ringer and I'd taken all the kind of like scammy products. And at first, when you saw him, if you were just a complete beginner, you probably wouldn't buy his stuff. You'd probably buy the other people's stuff. But because of the fact that I had kind of gone around the block and I understood, I wasn't dumb anymore. Like I understood how the game is played. I was like, okay, this guy's stuff is actually legit because he's telling me things like, hey, you've got to work hard. You've got to dedicate everything you have to your business. You have to treat your business like an actual business. You need to sacrifice things in order to be successful in business. Things like this. He was telling me things that I didn't want to hear, or like an average person wouldn't want to hear. Whereas all the other guys were being like, "Oh, you don't have to work at all. It's super easy. You can get passive income." Like they were just like trying to gas you up. And this guy was telling you things that you didn't want to hear. So I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna give this guy's course a try." And I started taking Consulting Accelerator, and it was a really good course. Now he doesn't sell it anymore, and it is probably outdated at this point. But he went on to start School, which is a big platform, which is the platform I actually host my coaching program on, which is a great platform. And I also started seeing Graham Stephan videos. So Graham Stephan really inspired me as a YouTuber, right? So I started seeing some Graham Stephan videos, and I was really inspired by how authentic his reports were. So like how I built 6 income sources that generate $59,000 a month. He was just very authentic, very vulnerable about money, and just like very free about discussing money. He also came from a poor background, so I really related to him. Um, you know, his emotional struggles with money, and yeah, I really like Graham Stephan's content, and he really inspired me to give YouTube another try. And then I also ran into Sam, who is a friend of mine. He's actually used to be my roommate. We just randomly were roommates together. And Sam is basically he came from Lebanon to the United States, so he was an immigrant, and he obviously came from a very poor background. And when he came to the United States, he didn't really have an option. He couldn't work normally, right? So he didn't really have an option to get a normal job. So he was basically forced to start a business. And so he started a business in photography. He started making videos on YouTube, and his YouTube channel was getting traction. He was getting some clients through YouTube. He was getting traction, and he was getting some notoriety through his YouTube channel. And so he kind of taught me the ropes on YouTube. He was also making 6 figures a year, probably multiple 6 figures. And so he kind of taught me the ropes on how to do YouTube as well. And so I started doubling down, and I started really giving YouTube my full A effort. Before I was kind of just doing it as a hobby, but now I started treating it like a business, and I started really giving it my A effort, and really, getting strategic about it, and focusing on solving other people's problems, not just doing what I want. And I started to get traction right away. And I started to make a full-time income from YouTube very quickly. So you can see I was getting thousands of subscribers a month. And then I read this book, The Compound Effect, really good book by Darren Hardy. And yeah, it's this is if you haven't read this book, I highly recommend it. And it's all about just habits and your actions, and how that affects your outcomes. And then I started having some real YouTube success. So this video went viral. The Most Useless Degrees. I read some more books, like The One Thing, which is just focusing on one thing. And so when I read this book, I realized I need to stop making content on so many different subjects and just focus on the subjects that people actually care about and people actually want me to make content on. So it was degrees and careers, right? That's what people wanted me to talk about, and ways of getting careers, like, online certifications that are actually worth it. And then remote jobs, right? So I kind of hopped from degrees to kind of like alternative education, to careers, and then to work from home jobs. And I made a ton of videos on each of these along the way. And I still make videos on some of them too. And then I started traveling the world. So I think this is a picture of me in the Philippines. This is a picture of me skydiving in Puerto Rico. I was actually with my best friend at the time. This is a picture of me, I believe. Oh, no. This one's in Thailand. This one's in Thailand. And then this one is in the Philippines. This is a picture of me in Canada, Vancouver, Canada, specifically at an outdoor museum. And then, there was a certain time where I was getting a lot of views, but I wasn't really monetizing correctly. So I was making pretty good money. But I realized there were other people that were getting less views than me, like way less views than me, and they were making way more money than me. So I'm like, what the heck am I doing wrong here? Because I'd figured out the whole traffic side of things, but I hadn't figured out how do you actually make money from this traffic side of things? And that's when I read books like Expert Secrets, and this is by Russell Brunson. So, excellent book. Highly recommend this book as well. And this one really talks about the monetization side of things. And there's many different ways you can monetize. You can do a service. You can do some kind of agency where you work for a long period of time with people. So a service would be like, okay, let's say you're an accountant and you're trying to get an accounting job. I could make your resume for you. An agency would be, let's say you are a business and you want somebody to advertise for you on Facebook ads. I could make an agency where I do Facebook ads for you. You could also do a course. There's an evergreen course where you just teach other people how to do stuff. You could also do coaching where you work with people for long periods of time and you kind of teach them how to do different things. So there's many different ways that you can monetize. But he basically teaches you how to actually become an expert and how to actually help people get to their goal. So I highly recommend this book. Russell Brunson he's a beast. And then, so I started making a ton of money at this point. I started really making good money now, but I ran into my next problem, which was operations. So I was spending a ridiculous amount of time making all these videos and, also doing my products and making money from everything. And I was just getting stressed out. I was getting really, really burned out. And so the next thing I did is I switched to focusing on operations. And if you're having operation problems, I highly recommend reading this book, Traction by Gino Wickman. Really good book. And this will really solve all your operations problems. It's basically a very simple system for organizing things and sort of structuring the hierarchy of your business, like hiring certain key positions to take care of things for you, which is great. And this is the result, guys. Figuring out these 3 key skills, which is content creation, of course, the most important skill of all, which is getting traffic, actually figuring out how to monetize that traffic, and then operationalizing things has led to me making like $300,000 a month. This is a picture of 277,000. That's just with one channel, and that actually wasn't all of the stuff that I generated. It was just all that I could easily fit on a screenshot. And yeah, the craziest thing about this, guys, is I only have to spend 4 hours a week to maintain my main channel, right? My Shane Hummus channel, which is over 800,000 subscribers. I only have to spend 4 hours a week to do it. And the reason for that is because I've mastered these 3 skills: content creation, monetization, and operations. Those are 3 things that I mastered in the context of doing YouTube. And I basically, I'm just crushing it because of that. And what I started doing, after doing all of this, you can see kind of like my full story here. What I started doing, guys, is I started actually training other people, because a lot of people were kind of reaching out to me. So I'll just show you guys my YouTube real quick. And by the way, if you'd like coaching or consulting from me, I do offer that down in the description and the pinned comment below. So Shane Hummus. So this is my main channel, 827,000 subscribers. And if you look at my Google Drive, of course I have, actually I could probably just take you there. The content, yeah, I'll just take you here. The content growth engine. So if you look at this, you can kind of see a bunch of different testimonials, right? So I have a bunch of different testimonials from people that I've helped. And these are people that were, originally just reaching out to me for the most part. And I started helping them. And I wasn't even sure if I could help them at first. But they started getting crazy good results as well. So, some of these people are doing 835K per month, 400K per month. This one's doing 12K, 40K, 186K. She's actually doing more than 40K now. 80K, 100K per month. Yeah, so these people are absolutely crushing it. 100K per month. And yeah, I started helping all these people, and I actually realized that I truly enjoyed coaching when it came to YouTube. And so I decided to start a second business where I just teach people how to grow and monetize and operationalize their YouTube channels, because it's just something that I really enjoy doing. And like I said before, if you want to book a call with me, down in the description, the pinned comment below, also have some freebies down there for you, things that'll probably help you in your journey of growing. And yeah, I just wanted to share that kind of story with everybody. It was a really cool journey for me, painful at many times, but YouTube has completely changed my life. It's the best source of leads ever. I mean, there's people that have to spend in order to make 300K per month, they have to spend 200K per month, and then they have to pay their team another 50K per month, and then they have another 20K in expenses, and they're only left with like 20 or 30K per month for themselves in actual profit. Whereas with YouTube, it's like the vast majority is profit, right? So YouTube is an incredibly good investment. In fact, on this exact channel, I did a 30-day challenge And I was able to scale the channel from 0 to making 30K per month within 30 days. So it's something that you can absolutely do. You don't need years to build your YouTube channel up, because I know a lot of people think that when they see my main channel, it's like, oh, you need years to do this. If you do it the right way, you don't. You don't need years. Now, if you try to learn on your own, it is going to take you years. But if you find a mentor, somebody who's already done it, it's going to take you a lot less time than that. So just wanted to share that with you guys. Check out some of the other videos on my channel. I talk about exactly how I do these things, and I'll see you next time.